Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special Majora Speaks returns. Today we're going to talk about a very special console to me. None other than Nintendo's very own self-proclaimed high number Nintendo 64 console. And we've got a very special array of video content for you to check out in this installment, starting with a video response to the button mappers. They ask, is the Nintendo 64 a good or bad console? Do you know where I stand? Let's find out. It's Nintendo 60, say it with me, Forever. Nintendo 64, is it a good or bad console? Well, we're going to find out today here on Majora. The button mappers pose the community question, Nintendo 64, good or bad?
This month our community response video is the N64 good or bad?
Well, boy, do I have the answer for you. Now, some of you may be new to this channel, so I wanted to let you know a little, did you know? Well, did you know that the Nintendo 64 is actually my favorite console? Because if you didn't, now you do. And I happen to love this thing, and so I don't want you to confuse that with the question of if it's good or bad, because it might be easy to conflate those two things. Just because you love something doesn't make it great. People like Donald Trump, people like the Virtual Boy, you know, like, and that doesn't make either of those things good, does it? Prove me wrong. But the Nintendo 64, I do want to break down by criteria. So on the one hand, we have controllers. People love the modern controllers. They love the Xbox controllers, the PS4. They love the Switch controller compatibility. Well, a lot of people don't love the N64 controller. Personally, I've never had many issues with it, but there are amazing alternatives, even in one that I used recently, the Tribute 64 controller by Retrobit. I used this thing to clear Ocarina of Time recently, like this year, and I mean, it really got the job done, and it was comfortable on the hands. A little weird with the Z and R buttons, but not bad at all. Now, you may be wondering, well, great, yeah, you have controllers, but what about the games? Well, I happen to love the games. A lot of these have been ported, and I'm not blind to that fact. But that doesn't stop the fact that there are great games on the 64. I love playing Pokemon Stadium. I love the mini games. I love in general the party games. I love playing the Mario Party games. I love the Banjo games. I love a lot of games that are on the N64. And did you know that the N64 may potentially be one of the easiest consoles to do a hard mod to play import games on? Now, some of you may be wondering, why would you want to play import games? I'm American, I don't speak other languages. Well, you know what, then you're missing out, because you got good games like Sin and Punishment. You have cheaper alternatives to some of the overpriced games, as they are currently listed on eBay. A lot of the Japanese listings are more affordable. And I mean, why limit yourself? Learn some Japanese, learn a new language while you're at it. And I also want to mention longevity. You know, I've had a GameCube die on me. I know people who've had their Xboxes die. The Nintendo 64 is the gift that keeps on giving. It's got eternal life. I've had this thing for 20 years, 20 plus actually. And, you know, I had a scare. I thought it was going to die. In fact, when I was in college, my roommate swore to me this thing was dead. It didn't work. It wouldn't play the copy of Mario Kart that I had, and he was about to chuck out my N64. Boy, could you imagine the rage on my face when he tried to do that. And I took my cartridge, I held it in, and I made it work. But recently I also discovered 1UP cards, N64 console cleaner. It's a little cartridge that you insert in and out of the console. And also there's like a nice little scrubby thing that you can get from them too with, I believe is hydrogen peroxide solution. And, oh, is that what it is? I'm not remembering it right. But it works perfectly. All of my cartridges have worked on this console. This has stood the test of time in more ways than one. So is it good? Yeah, it's damn good, and I love it. You know, it may be my favorite, but it's also worth it. Is it worth it? Yes, it's worth it. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed my response, and check out the community response as well as the playlist over on The Button Mappers. Thanks for watching, and you can catch me later here on Majora T with more Nintendo 64 content. Wow, yeah, just watching it back, I definitely agree with myself. The Nintendo 64 is, in fact, a console. And it's a pretty damn good one at that. I really like the library and such. And also, just I've been enjoying it a lot this year. With that being said, this is still a console. And one thing about consoles is that for us collectors, you know, we accrue a real collection, not just of games, but also of consoles. And a question that's come up for me recently is, when do you feel the sense of console overload? And what do you do in order to navigate it? And I brought on a very special guest to help me address the question. Stay tuned. This is this month's Table Topics. I kind of finessed that in there. It's not exactly Table Topics, but since I'm at a lack of one this month, it's fine to be. This is this month's Table Topics, console overload. Let's check out an excerpt, shall we? All right, 3, 2, 1. It's me, Sonic.
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 It's me, Sonic.
It's me, Sonic!
Ladies and gentlemen, look who's with me today.
Ah! How did I get here?
It was an earthquake.
What's happened?
Unleashing from the crevices of the earth, it's Alex from the Tennyson.
I'm here, and I'm on a rampage, just like my shirt. It's Rampage.
Speaking of rampage, we're gonna rampage through these consoles, or should I say, devices that play video games that are inserted on cartridges or discs in disc-based media, but not Blu-ray.
Console.
I should have stayed quiet. Okay. Yeah, this was a request by Terry309 to discuss. Yeah, our lad.
My wife.
Yeah, I can't wait for the
Married.
That's the word I was looking for. Marriage of content.
Mary, please pick up the milk on your way home.
Yeah, Alex picked up some cookies, so I think you guys you got like some chemistry going on. Anyways, he wanted to know, what are our thoughts on console overload?
What does that even mean?
Well, it's funny you should ask, because I experience it regularly. Console. How many consoles do you own, Alex?
Oh shit. I don't know. That's a big
Start naming them.
Account. Okay, hold on. Let me go back from like oldest to newest. How about that? We'll go like step by step. I have Atari 2600, an Atari 7800. I actually don't have an NES. I do have NES games, but I have a Retron for that. So from there it goes to, I guess, the Super Nintendo, like a Genesis. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. 64, Saturn, Dreamcast, PS2, GameCube, Xbox, Wii U, PS3, PS4, Xbox One, Retron 5, and handheld. I have like 3DS, Game Boy SP, the Game Gear. I have Game Gear, of course. I have a PlayStation TV. That's a thing that I own. A PSP. That's we're at 16, right? Or something like that. No. We're beyond that. I've lost count.
Me too.
What am I missing? I'm missing something.
Xbox One,
Is it Xbox One?
PS4.
The VR is part of the PS4
Okay.
atmosphere.
Aesthetic.
I don't know. I'm missing something.
Genesis,
yeah, and now I have a
Saturn. Go ahead.
32X, but that's part
Yeah.
of the Genesis too.
It's got wires.
Fuck ton of consoles.
Yeah, you have over 20.
So,
For me, I think it's... Well, I guess since you started including handhelds, it's interesting. I was mostly thinking home consoles, but I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to name them. So Atari, Genesis, Saturn, N64, PS1, PS2, Dreamcast? I didn't say that right. You don't know?
No.
Okay, I think I did not. So now I did.
oh, you didn't say it. You didn't say it.
Okay.
So now you've said it.
Okay. You're right. I did say it. Now that I've said it. GameCube. Wii U. I have a Wii Mini, but it doesn't count. It's all boxed up. I'm ready to like just get rid of that thing. Switch, PS4, and that's just
Switch.
home
I forgot.
consoles.
I forgot Switch as well.
Okay, so you have X plus one.
I didn't say Switch.
Okay, 20 some odd.
27.
Handhelds. I don't know. I have the Game Boy Player. I have a GBA, but it's not backlit. I have a 3DS. I think that's it. So maybe like 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fair amount. How do you... Well, actually, yeah. How do you feel about your current console collection?
It's a lot. I don't know if there's any more that I want outside of like obtaining like next generation stuff whenever it's time for me to do that. In terms of like older stuff, like I've thought about like a Master System, like maybe, that'd be neat. I've thought about like other things, but I don't know. It's just like there's so many, so many consoles.
Yeah, a lot. And it's almost like, where do you find the time even just to play them or even hook them up? Which, it's my feelings that, when I have a lot of consoles, that I just feel like I'm too spread out. Do you ever feel that way?
Yeah, I tend to focus in on on like a handful at a time. Like I think hooked up right now, I keep like my current gen stuff hooked up. Then I keep like I have like my Saturn 64 and I think Genesis out right now. But everything else I keep in storage. I keep in like totes in my in my storage space in my closet. So usually I will like switch them out.
That's an interesting strategy. I kind of apply that as well. We have a nice big TV here, and we have a media center, which has like holes in the back. So I keep my most modern systems hooked up to it because it's the big TV. Obviously, you're going to play the biggest, the bestest, most modern looking games on that TV. So I have like my Wii U, PS4. I actually keep the GameCube under there, but, I've thought about taking it out. And the Switch, it's really easy to just kind of like set that up anywhere because it's just the dock, and then you just move the dock and the HDMI cables. So with the modern consoles, I don't have much of an issue, but once it comes to the other consoles that, that I don't consider the staples, I have a very hard time playing them. I try to do that focus thing too. Like I'll keep my N64 moving around the house, but then I feel like I'm neglecting my GameCube. PS2, I can't tell you last time I played a PS2 game. Does that ever happen with you with your console collection, that you start to neglect other consoles?
Yeah, definitely. There's been some that like some of my consoles I haven't collected or played in a while that like I still have some sort of attachment, and I really don't want to get rid of them. And I do get rid of consoles. I sold off my 360, and I sold off a few other things that are just like stuff I don't really care about. But like, For example, I absolutely love my Dreamcast. I haven't got that thing out in like a couple years, honestly. It's been sitting in storage. It's like, like all my games are on a spindle over here, and I'm just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe one day, But yeah, I get what you mean though. It feels like I'm like I have all these games, but like I can't realistically, play all of these.
Sure. I mean, it's an awful feeling getting rid of a console because like you can make a case for owning any of these consoles. Dreamcast, I keep my Dreamcast, and it's even an import model. It's not even like a standard American one, just to play Shiren the Wanderer one day when I learn Japanese. And at that point, I'm like, why am I holding on to this thing? And it's awful because, selling games are easy. You sell a game, you get it back whenever you want. Okay, that's fine. And, it's an easy profit margin. But with a console, do you attribute different feelings to consoles than you do games?
Definitely. For example, I own, like I said, the Atari 2600 and the 7800. And those are consoles that are very hard to hook up, very really inconvenient consoles. Like I have a CRT over here just for doing stuff with Atari games, and it's and it's kind of like why I have a Retro Pi, Raspberry Pi thing. I can play whatever Atari game I want on that thing. Why am I keeping this console from the late 70s that is a pain in the ass to hook up? But like going back and playing some of those old consoles for me, it sort of feels like you're like in a whole different experience, like rather than just playing some ROM dumped on a Raspberry Pi, playing it off of an actual Atari, it kind of like it brings you into that world. So that's why I keep consoles, because each console is kind of like its own different atmosphere.
I feel you. And you sent me my Atari. And, I joke around like, oh, yes, well, you sent me an Atari. But I play it. I play it from time to time, especially when I go home. And there is something very arcade authentic about it. You actually have arcade cabinets in your house.
I do.
And, that's a real treat in and of itself. How do you manage owning all of these different setups, especially considering it's not like a computer? You get a computer, you just put it on a desk, you bundle your wires and you take it out, etc. But you have a bunch of consoles and you have a bunch of wires. I do too. You have a lot more. How do you navigate that? Oh man, I'm super happy for my friends Alex and Terry. It sounds like that they're really, strengthening their bonds, and I am in full support of everything they do. They're a great pair of friends in this here community. But I have to say, thinking about my friends Alex and Terry especially, like if Terry had a baby, what would it be? What would this child, the spawn of Terry, be like? Well, to me, there's no further there's no better vision for Terry than the Falcon. And the Falcon is a captain. He's Captain Falcon. He is from F-Zero, and I thought directly of F-Zero X. That was a stretch, I know. But it's what it is. This is a beginner's guide to playing F-Zero X, so that all newborns who enter to this world of video gaming and classic video games and great racing games at that can enjoy and experience the thrill ride and the intensity and the enjoyment that is F-Zero X.
F-Zero TV.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's me, Majora. And I'm out here today to give you a little beginner's guide to F-Zero X. Why do you need this? Well, some people don't, but some people do. F-Zero X is absolutely rocking. Seriously, listen to that soundtrack. The high-octane racing combined with the heavy metal rockish, forgive me, I don't know these genres, OST really makes for one badass racing game on the Nintendo 64. But some people tell me that the game is too intense for them, that they can't handle it. Well, you know what? That's tough, because here are some tips. I want to guide you to F-Zero X and what you need to know in order to start winning these races. Winning! Whether it be on standard difficulty, expert difficulty, or you're even racing on a higher cup. Let's start with the machines. There's 30 of them. 30 of these unique, badass pilots. I love the roster of F-Zero X, especially because they went from like 6 or 4 characters to 30. That was amazing. I think that each of these characters is really, I don't know how to say this. Let's just say they have personality, the number one trait that most gamers look for in their characters. And beyond that, they each have unique statistics too. These aren't just like very samey machines, although some of them bear commonalities. They each have unique stats in 3 departments: body, boost, and grip. Body is your durability. It determines if your ship is getting hit a lot, how long is it before it's going to explode and you lose the race. Boost is an additional speed boost that you can use in the track once you hit lap 2. And grip determines how well you can maneuver as you turn on the track. That's actually possibly one of the most important statistics, is your grip. And that's actually going into my next tip here. Know your grip. I think you need to know what the grip is for your pilot, especially because if you're using a pilot with a low grip, they turn on the corners of the tracks in a much different manner than do other pilots. So I personally like pilots that have grips of at least like B or higher, B or A. So personally, I really like Baba in the Iron Machine. I like Jody Summers in the White Cat. And Drac is my spirit pilot, if there is such a thing. Yes, there is. I just made it up. How you should turn. I personally recommend slightly turning the joystick as you hit corners and also using it in combination with the right and left hover mechanics. It's weird on the N64 controller because you have to use R for right hover and Z for left hover. Z is under the controller, R is on the right side, but you're already holding the N64 controller with the 2 hands in those positions anyway, so it does make sense. But it's super important not to just turn the joystick all the way right or all the way left, basically because if you do, your pilot is just going to make a sharp turn, which is something you don't really need, especially in combination with these high speeds of 700, 800, 900, 1,000 kilometers per hour. I want to take that into the tracks. I want you to know your track. Know what the track is that you're racing. Get a feel for it. You may not master it, on the first, second, third try, but as you play it over and over, you're going to realize where some of the most necessary features of that track are. And some of those features include things such as boost pads, half pipes, recharge sections, in addition to other, terrain obstacles such as gravel that'll slow your machine down, or maybe like kind of a slippery pad. When you realize what the features are, how they're going to benefit you, how they're going to hurt you, it's going to change how you race on that track. Take this one, for instance, Silence. I love this track. This is perhaps one of the top tracks in the game. Silence has a series of like 10 or so boost pads at the very start of the track. And if you play this one well enough, you may barely even need to use your boost. It may actually come to your detriment if you use it, because you'll actually end up flying off the course if you do it at the wrong time. But if you memorize where each of the boost pads are and can pilot your ship with like the proper grip, you can get a serious lead, even if it's on expert. So I happen to love tracks that make you hyper cognizant of the layout. It also is important to bear in mind what your character's acceleration and max speed level is going into the track. This is separate from the body boost grip stat, in that acceleration and max speed gauge is something you can customize. And you will want to err on the side of acceleration if you're bumping into walls, or on the side of max speed if you're like really familiar with the layout. Personally, on the easier cups such as Jack Cup or Queen Cup, I tend to err on the side of speed. But when it comes to cups like King and Diamond, and I know that the maneuvering is a lot different and there are more obstacles, I might err more on the side of acceleration. So it's something to play around with, but something to keep in mind with the track that you pick. Speaking of the track, know your boost. Know how your boost works. Know where to use it on the track. You'll want to use it at those long stretches where you're not in danger of going into a wall or going off the course. And know how it depletes your energy level, because the boost is one of your most helpful and one of your most harmful tools. It literally harms the machine that you're using. And if you get too low on the energy level and then simply tap into another machine, your machine retires. But if you know where to use it and you know where those recharge stations are on each track, you can use the boost to get through. Okay, that was a bad one. You can use the boost in a way that is going to help you win the race. So it's so important. Know how it works with your machine and know where to use it. And lastly, know your place. I don't mean this in the sense of reprimanding. I just mean it in the sense of know your place in the race and in the cup overall. This is a Grand Prix, so you add up points with each track that you finish. So say you take first place, you get 100 points. But say you take 15th place, then I think maybe you get like 50. And so if you know what your place is, it can drastically change how you will play the race. So for instance, if I have a very nice lead of, let's say, like 30 points or so over the next player, and I'm on the last track, I know I can comfortably take first place in the cup overall, even if I get like 10th place in the race. Versus if I'm neck and neck with somebody and the score difference is 7 points and they're my rival and I'm on the last track, maybe I want to try and destroy their ship. And that's also a great feature is being able to use attacks on other pilots. And also, if you are realizing that you are going to lose this race and it is going to drastically hurt your score, maybe you just want to turn right into the wall and retire your ship.
Too bad. You lost your machine.
There's a number of ways that being aware of what your place is can help you to win the cup overall. Normally in Mario Kart, you have to like restart the whole thing. But with F-Zero X, you get a couple ships, you get a couple chances. Know your place. And with that being said, know your tips. These were 5 of them. I hope they helped. Let me know how they work out. And also, if you have any tips of your own, who's your favorite pilot in the game and why? Let me know in the comments below. And stay tuned. I'm going to do some pilot profile videos. where I go over each of the pilots in F-Zero X and how well they maneuver on the tracks. I'm not sure when it will happen, but I'm thinking for one of these Majority Speaks videos, I'll make that the theme. Thanks for watching, much appreciated, and I will catch you in the next video. I'll race you there. Oh man, I do love me some good F-Zero gameplay. Speaking of which, F-Zero is fast, intense, it's fun, and so is the Discord. Check out Sworn Brothers, a Discord community where you can join in some of the festivities and get exclusive Majority updates, and also leave me a question for our Q&A segment, which is what we're rolling into today. So we've got a couple questions. I'll get some of the joke ones out of the way first. Turbozone, actually beautiful Alex, my fault, asks, where do Clues come from? Why, obviously the land. Rave Racer 91 asked, wasn't Clue one of my XCOM soldiers? He wasn't talking to me. Terry 309 confirms. We then have VG Mashup. My question, as a fan of the N64, what is the strongest genre of games on that system? Parentheses, sports, RPG, platformer, etc. You know, that's an interesting question because the N64 library is not huge. There's not so many games to pick from. Like, I could say 3D platformer, and I do love my 3D platformers on that system, but I really only think of Mario 64 and the Banjo games. You could count Conker in there as well. I need to play a little more into it. There is one genre, in addition to the platformers, on the 64 that I absolutely do love. And it's railgun shooters. There's not that many of them, and I guess you could categorize spaceship shooters into that as well. But I happen to love the gameplay of Sin and Punishment, Star Fox 64. I thought Star Soldier Vanishing Earth was really good. Desemon 3D is a really cool spaceship shooter kind of game. And they're not all rails shooters, but the ones that are there are terrific. They play so well. In addition to that, party games. You could almost categorize multiplayer as like a genre on the N64. There's so many terrific multiplayer experiences that, you know, are still great to this day. I love playing the original Mario Party, and even by comparison to Super Mario Party on the Switch. They're both great games for different reasons. Mario Party 1 is, I mean, you know, some of the maps are not great. I'll give it that. But the mini games and this kind of like, you know, fun idea about competing for first and how, you know, it doesn't just give you coins and it makes you work for it and it embarrasses you if you get in fourth. Like, it's a fun game that holds you to high standards, and I do like it for that reason. And I think it makes it, like, even though, like, the loser, it kind of sucks for the loser, it's... There's more emotions out of it, which is something that you really get the sense of. And I happen to love the multiplayer experiences in even games like GoldenEye, which I picked fun at, or Banjo, Tooie. There's just an array of great multiplayer experiences. Mario Tennis is another really good one. Definitely the N64, to me, like, the reason to get it is for multiplayer gaming. That would be it. So good question, VG Mashup. Appreciate it. Terry309 follows up with quite the doozy. What is the worst Zelda game? Ooh, that is a tricky one. Because the go-to answer is probably Zelda on the Philips screwdriver, CDI, whatever you call that thing. I've never played that. I can't confirm. I would probably say Triforce Heroes is the dumbest Zelda game I've heard of. The fact that there was a single player mode where you could play it with like your, clones, your Zelda clones. But it just sounded so stupid. The game was meant to be played with 3 persons, and you could play it online, I think, like with people like over the internet. But, you'd have to play with 2 other people, not just 1. And the fact that the communication system was limited to, I think, like just a couple input commands, you can't even like type, you're using the DS touchscreen and using pre-selected input commands, makes it kind of crazy. So that's a Zelda game I've been particularly uninterested in playing. I've never played it, but that one's like the dumbest conceptually. Now the worst one that I have played, oh, that's a tricky one. So I've finished a lot of Zelda games that I've played. And this answer is going to piss some people off. But arguably to me, as a Zelda game... Oh, you know what? I'm actually going to count Hyrule Warriors out of this. I don't like Hyrule Warriors either. I think that is not a Zelda game. So that's an argument for worst Zelda game. But if you're going to just talk about the mainline games... let's take it to the 3D Zeldas. I would say Breath of the Wild. I think that is the most far removed from the dungeon formula of the standard, 3D Zeldas. It lacks that intensity. Yes, you have shrines, but the shrines are not dungeons. There are dungeon areas, but I think they get lost in the overall process of just exploring in the game. Not a bad game, but a bad Zelda game to me. Of the mainline ones. It's not the worst. It's not worse than, Triforce Heroes or Hyrule Warriors. And people love Hyrule Warriors, so, you're allowed to. But again, not a Zelda game. I'm a Zelda fan. A spin-off Zelda. That's like, when Dragon Quest Heroes came out, when Japan was getting a bunch of Dragon Quest games on the mainline series, or even the RPG spin-offs, and we got a Musou game. It was just like, it was not Dragon Quest. It was not the series I was hoping for to come here. I can't be as mad at Zelda for it, because at least we do get those mainline games. For Dragon Quest, that was a different story. Good question, though, Terry. Appreciate it. With that being said, we actually have a voicemail. Did you know? Because if you didn't, well, now you do. And you can call into the show at any time, and I'm happy to answer your voicemails, whether it be a question, a comment, some feedback, whatever you're thinking. As long as it's appropriate, I'll play it on the show. If you want to call, you can. The number is 917-267-8313. So actually just dial 1 before that. That's 1-917-267-8313. And we got a voicemail from a very interesting and famous caller. I'm very excited about this one. I saw who it was, and I got starstruck. So let's go ahead and play it. And I'm just loading it up here. Perfect. We're good to go.
Hello, this is Reggie Fils-Aimé from Nintendo. I'm calling Majority Speaks today because I see you're talking about the Nintendo 64.
Uh-huh.
Funny fact, I actually worked at Nintendo.
You what?
So I know a lot about the Nintendo 64. You see, at Nintendo, we like to make games. But sometimes other companies make games better than we do.
That's true.
That's why I, Reggie Fils-Aimé, would like to announce that Turok is the best game for the Nintendo 64. Again, this is Reggie Fils-Aimé. I love Turok.
Whoa, we got Reggie Fils-Aimé on the show. And it's a funny fact because I actually thought he worked at GameStop, but apparently he worked at Nintendo. Did you know? I had no idea. I mean, who would have put this guy as like the face of Nintendo? Like I'd never have considered it. But Reggie, wow, thank you for calling into the show, Reggie. That really means like the world to me. It's funny that he announced that he likes Turok because I didn't know he played any instruments. I thought that's a really fun fact. I love when people call into the show and I get like really interesting facts about them. You know, Reggie is an icon, and I guess he's an icon in more ways than one. I know I don't know if he's a local New Yorker, but I've seen him like do stuff for kids in the Bronx before. So hearing that he loves to rock is really just inspiring. So Reggie, I can't say it enough. Thanks for calling into the show. You're a real icon, and I think you should just keep doing what you do, because you really, at the end of the day, you do rock. And so do you, viewers. You rock too. I appreciate you. Appreciate you coming, checking out Majora T Speaks. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Let me know what you thought, and feel free to hit me up in the Discord as well as leave a voicemail. Thanks so much, and keep enjoying your favorite consoles, especially the Nintendo 64. Bye-bye!